After over 5 years, we now bring you the second video interview with James Casbolt. In Bases 4, Casbolt expanded on Barry King's material, first released in Bases 1 and 2. King talked about generated life forms, horrendous mind and population control programs, Mannequin and Puppet Master, all going on in Britain's Berkshire countryside at a base under the village of Peasmore. Casbolt highlighted even more horrific programs involving children, genetic experimentation and further terrifying details. And even a base under Parliament itself called CLC-1. In Bases 2 and 4, a further witness, Matt Todd, gave us even more detail with the involvement of the US military in the abductions, or MILABs, and how he killed 4 Greys at a base where people's souls were kept in cages. Bases 7 gave us super soldier Dave Marrow and his trauma-induced Monarch programming. Selected at birth and trained to fight off-planet perhaps, Matt Todd demonstrated radio signals coming from his many implants, the existence of some other form of dimensional reality, and a war with super beings is implied. So now, in Bases 9, we present Michael Prince, aka James Casbolt. This time, the SS comes into focus and the nightmare continues. That is, if any of these claims can ever be proved with factual, evidential data. James Casbolt.
James, we met in a previous persona as James on a previous edition of the Basis series. You've got a different persona now, or you've got 2 different ways you portray yourself to the public. Can you explain what the difference is, or why you've changed, or has there been a change? Michael Prince, James Casbolt.
It's just a simple matter of I'm using the name, my birth name, Michael Prince.
Right.
That's the name I was given at birth by my biological mother.
So where's the story of the Casbolt? What's the story?
That was a family I was adopted into, the Casbolt family.
Yeah.
So that was 81. Yeah, I need to go back to the beginning when I was a baby, the origins of Project Ibis.
Right.
It was the name of the project that I was involved in, were born into, effectively, was named Project Ibis, and it was run by the NSA and MI6. And it was tracking of 42 children from different countries. And all those children were brought to a facility in Canada in the Rocky Mountains, underneath a small town called Nelson. And
what countries? Why were they selected?
According to the file information that I've seen, they were selected for because their DNA. The NSA information that I've seen says that we have what they call blood prime, which it states Anunnaki DNA.
What is blood prime? What specifically are the differences?
I think it's a type of alien DNA, human, alien, hybrid.
Is there any particular rhesus negative, positive, or anything like that?
I think there's the rhesus negative factor in it. I think that the O negative factor. Yeah.
So how are the children selected as such? I mean, does that mean there's some means of selecting? Is it from different, at birth, people's bloodline, medical records? Or?
I think the mothers were selected, and the embryos were cloned embryos grown in an artificial environment, test tube babies, and I think those, from my understanding, those embryos were then implanted into specific women who gave birth, and then at the time of birth the children were transported to the underground facility in Nelson in Canada. The name of that facility was a Q552.
And where's Nelson? Is it in Manitoba, Winnipeg, somewhere?
That's a small town in the Rocky Mountains. It's in British Columbia in Canada. So we were all taken there at the time of birth. Some from America, I think. There was some from South America, obviously some from the UK. I don't know who the other 42 children are. I've got a rough idea now.
Why 42?
I don't know.
Is it just that's what the sample was? There's no significance in it?
I don't know. I'm sure there's significance in it somewhere, but I don't have that information. Many of the children were transported on private CIA jets, small charter jets.
Or just
like Learjets.
Yeah.
And transported there.
So what's the program? What specifically is the purpose of it? There's a lot of effort being put into this then. Why?
Project IBIS, it's again the Nazi connection. The name comes from the Giza intelligence group underneath the Giza pyramids, the Nazi group in World War II.
What Nazi group is this?
It's known as the Giza intelligence, the Nazi group.
And which part of the Giza plateau were they involved with?
I don't know. I just know they were based underneath the Giza pyramids. There was a facility, the Nazis in World War II, and the name connects to Thoth, the immortal, and the Egyptian. His some connection with an ibis bird would represent Thoth in Egypt.
And what were they trying to find in Egypt, or what did they find in Egypt?
I think they found some kind of life extension technology. And this was effectively this was a major part of the IBIS program, was life extension, regeneration.
Is there some kind of chamber that you could mention, or any particular area?
Yeah, there's the emerald chambers.
The emerald?
Or the emerald rooms. But I think that's in more than one location. I'd rather not talk too much about the emerald rooms. I'd rather just focus. Because it's such a complex subject. It's.
Is this to do with the storage of souls on the earth and the recreation on earth?
This is very much physical. This is at the Q552 we were being indoctrinated with Nazi principles, Germanic principles.
Were you indoctrinated by Nazis?
Yeah, it was Nazi. It wasn't just Nazis there, but there was a big Nazi presence. Some of the philosophies were indoctrinated with there. You see those philosophies in Germanic organisations to this day, like the Odinist Fellowship in this country. The philosophies are based around, obviously, the creation of an Uberman, a Superman. But they see life on Earth as a means to an end. They're not trying to get somewhere else. They're not trying to get to heaven or another planet. They want to become physically immortal in this body, on this earth, and stay here. Now, we're also indoctrinated with the Germanic belief in endless warfare. That would be our reality. Once we stayed here physically, our reality would be endless warfare, and there'd be periods of rest.
Purely to maybe reorganise the logistics, or?
They talked about the 1,000-year Reich, the 1,000 years of peace, which would be periods of rest in between the warfare, and then it would just be a continuous cycle. And that was effectively how they'd indoctrinated us to be assassins when we were older, so we could keep functioning. If we were concerned about the next hit and had anxiety about that, we wouldn't be able to carry it out and function. But if in our mindset, if we believed that we were designed for endless warfare and it would never stop, we would just accept that and be relaxed when we were involved in assassination.
And what kind of assassinations or what kind of missions are we talking about here?
This is in numerous countries, many different ways.
So it's is it? I mean, are we sort of going and doing a 1, 2, 3 bump somebody off, or just different types of assassination?
A lot of it was standard gunplay. I mean, that came later on down the road. Obviously, we were actually raised in this facility as babies. So from 1976 to 1979, we were raised in this base. where it was in the mountains, it was underground, but it was above ground. The main entrance, it was like an aircraft hangar. And
what kind of general area are we talking about? What can you describe any of the buildings?
It's in the mountains. It's a very private location near Nelson, just near Nelson in the mountains.
Would there be a mountain name you could name?
It's near. I think it could. I'm not sure the mountain name. I know that there's a logging compound nearby, and there's an old access route near the logging compound that actually takes you to the base in the mountain. And Nelson's a very small town there. Again, the above ground section of it was an aircraft hangar, and when we were first brought there as babies,
so is it got a runway and landing place, or?
It's fenced off, high fences, and it has a runway in front of the aircraft hangar as you come in, but the aircraft hangar's sort of fenced around. The runway's here and the aircraft hangar's here.
Yeah,
it's quite a big building. But as babies, we slept in the aircraft hangar often because it was essentially a trauma centre. So they wanted us to be exposed to the cold, and there was sets of cots in there.
So this is high up, or maybe a couple of thousand feet up.
High over the Rocky Mountains,
yeah.
Very high. It's near Banff National Park.
Right.
So we were kind of being exposed to the elements, essentially. We slept there in the aircraft hangar with the doors open, and there was rows of cots, and we were under 24-hour armed guard at all times, so we couldn't be rescued from that facility because there were factions there that would rescue us at the first opportunity. The people that,
like the parents or the
special forces groups. The people that guarded us wore black uniforms, and they wore black masks, but sometimes they wore the ultra modern SS uniform.
What's that?
It's kind of like your standard SAS Black Ops uniform. Black boots, black trousers, black top, but it has chest plates and there's leather around the arms, and it has the SS double rune on the chest. The SS symbol, and
so that's a modern uniform. When you're saying a modern uniform, you're talking about post World War II.
Yeah, this is the modern SS uniform. Yeah.
So getting back to this SS uniform, I think, what era are we talking about? In the 70s?
This was 1976, and we were first taken there as babies.
So that means that that's the SS wearing those uniforms in Canada. So they must have authority to do so.
There was some kind of internal war going on in the military and in the intelligence community.
So is but are you saying this is therefore a Nazi organisation that's doing this?
Yeah.
So by inference, it means that the connections with AL499 and the other places in the UK must be essentially under Nazi control, or is that NSA control?
Well, this is it. You see, there's a big Nazi element within the NSA, because this was officially an NSA facility, the Q552 at Nelson. This was a NSA base, officially, the Q552 facility at Nelson. Now, there's a major Nazi element within the NSA.
So that essentially is saying that the NSA is a Nazi organisation and a survivor organisation from World War II?
I'd say that's a fairly accurate statement.
So de facto, World War II was won by the Nazis?
I wouldn't say they won, but I wouldn't say they lost either.
It survived there.
It survived. Yeah. In an underground fashion.
if the NSA is essentially protecting the Nazis, or the Nazis are running the NSA,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
I'd say that this faction is running MI6. Just to go off topic slightly before I carry on about what happened at the Q552, my main contact in MI6, he's a director of special operations, a man named Alfred Bonner.
Is this your current contact, or was your contact?
He's been my contact for years, and he's my current contact. I've carried out many assassinations under his instructions.
So you're saying this publicly? Is this?
He's not publicly known, but people can contact MI6 and ask to speak to Director Bonner. You can contact MI6 on the website and the phone number, and MI6 will admit they do have a Director Bonner there.
So what is the function of telling us about this now? Are they inviting people to ask those questions, or do they want that information out?
They want this information out. Alfred Bonner, he's from Bavaria, a German, effectively. He's you see him, very interesting looking man. Your classic Aryan giant. The guy's 6'6", looks about 52, huge guy, massive shoulders, very blonde hair, going almost white now because he's getting a bit older. Wears your classic MIB outfit, the fedora hat, that's his style of dress. Wears the fedora hat, black suit, piercing blue eyes, has a scar down his left side.
That's from the officer class, from fighting?
I'm not sure where he got the scar. This guy, amazing guy.
The characteristic of German upper class is to have a scar.
It's interesting.
From sword fighting.
It's interesting you say that. I didn't know that. Very interesting character. He from Bavaria, close friends with Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger also from Bavaria.
Who seems to have an amazing ability to stay young and healthy, relatively speaking.
Alfred Bonner was a director of security at Dulcie at the time of the Dulcie rescue.
Now there's been a book published by Pilkington, I think it is. I could stand correcting, saying the whole Dulcie thing's a fraud.
No,
they've stuck bits on the mountains to make it look as if what's going on.
No, Dulcie is real. Dulcie's 100% there.
So, I mean, why do you think there'd be elements within MI5 publishing books saying this stuff's wrong and it's shadows and it's a fraud?
I'm not really interested in the whole.
This isn't your recent book that's been published.
I'm not really interested in all that. I know Dulcie's real. It's an important place for the New World Order. So,
what's the function of Dulcie? I mean, we've heard that certain underground things in it, which were released in the late 70s. Is there anything new about it? Is it current?
I've got a friend in the CIA who works at Oak Ridge National Laboratories in Tennessee, and he often works down at Dulcie. He sent me pictures of the first level. I've got colour photographs. And it's not really, the first level isn't high tech. It's kind of just a damp old base, it's a bit run down, the first level. Not what you'd expect to see at all. The old elevator shafts and things.
Are you able to provide those pictures at all?
Yeah, I can. I think they were released on Project Avalon a couple of years back.
Right.
I can show you those pictures. But when you go down the levels, it does get more advanced down there. It's essentially.
Have you been down to those levels, or have you been shown them?
There is connections with IBIS and Dulcie. Dulcie is essentially officially it's a psychiatry centre. When the employees walk around the facility, there's certain sections with people in like hospital rooms with almost like prison rooms in a way, but not with bars, like plastic windows, thick plastic, and you have people there in hospital gowns and sitting on their beds, and the the briefing is that they're incurably insane, and that they're doing high-risk drug treatments on the insane. And it's actually a top-secret psychiatry facility. That's what they're first told when they go in there. So,
and then they never come out?
These people?
Yeah.
I think a lot of them don't come out. There's as you go these particular hallways at Dulcie, these rooms in the corridor are curved round, and every kind of 12 rooms you have an operating theatre. So these people are taken out as operating theatres there. And the Q552 facility in Canada, in Nelson, was there was a lot of Nazi psychiatry conditioning going on there.
What are you talking about conditioning?
Well, for instance, at the facility they were it was essentially a trauma centre. Now, they did a lot of conditioning with us with wild animals, and what they were doing there, they used Canadian wolves, they used snakes, they used cats, wild cats, tigers and things. They were giving us the attributes of wild animals.
How were they doing
they were
that?
subjecting us to for when we were older, for all-terrain warfare, jungle warfare, Arctic warfare. So we had the attributes of wild animals.
How do you get the attribute of a wild animal?
They used, they set up, I think it was the second level down at the Q552, they set up a kind of pen, 30 feet wide. They set up this pen, they put the babies in the pen, and they put wild animals in the pen. They might put snakes in there, or wolves. Only one type of animal at a time. They didn't mix the animals. There was always one type. Now this pen was very similar to a Skinner box they use in psychiatry.
What's a Skinner box?
A Skinner box is famous psychiatrist Skinner. I forget his first name. He designed this box, and they put babies in it, and they put animals in with the babies, and they were doing cognitive behaviour testing, how the babies would react to the animals. And they would, in this particular device, they put us in there, and they set up screens in the corners of the pen, and people's faces would be put on the screens, enlarged, and the faces would call us and get our attention. We'd look, and the faces would start talking to us, people, and then the faces would look like they were changing into half human, half whatever the animal was. So if it was a snake, if they were putting snakes in the pen, the person talking would start talking to us, and then his face would change into half human, half snake, lizard. And George Bush Sr. was the main handler of that particular facility, and his face would often come on the screen and talk to us, and he would do the reptile with the snakes. That would be his area.
Was that something that was done on a recorded type of a level, or was it he did it personally?
He was on the screen. I'm not sure if he was there. He was there sometimes physically, but I mean the guy travels all around the world to all different bases. He's a major programmer, so I don't know. He could have been over the other side of the world. Yeah. And he would come on and
Is this something that you experienced directly?
I saw him. He used to talk to us, talk to me. And
what age were you when this happened?
This was 76. I was a baby. Yeah, and this carried on. I spent from 76 to 79 there, and grew up there. The Queen Mother as well. She was a programmer there. She would, her face would be flashed on the screen, but her speciality was wolves. Whenever they put the wolves in with us, she would come on, and she'd talk to us, and she would start to change into half woman, half wolf-like face on the screen.
Was this done by some kind of electronic video effect, or?
I don't know. I don't know.
Can you name any other animals associated with different other people?
The only ones I remember is George Brasina with snakes and the Queen Mother with wolves. The place was very dark. I'm still starting to. It's difficult to remember everything that happened there. It's still coming back in bits and pieces. I remember being put in the pen and this group of babies, and there were toys put in, and one of the babies took a toy off another baby, and the little baby turned around and hissed at the other child like a snake, and his face sort of went like a snake. So
this was absorbed into them psychologically, or?
Yeah,
into their psyche?
Yeah, and with the DNA anyway, the Anunnaki DNA that the NSA were looking for.